This is Africa Good Morning. My name is Ashwin Bedi. Top stories shortly. Job creation slows and AI risks grow. South Africa counts economic costs as anti-migrant campaign intensifies. New animal to human transmission likely behind Congo-Uganda Ebola outbreak. And the biggest tournament in the world right now is coming to an end as the finalists are finally decided. Malawi will face Cameroon after both teams were victorious in the semi-finals. Malawi defeating Algeria 3-1 and Cameroon defeating Morocco on penalties 3-1 as well. So Malawi and Cameroon are going to be in the final in Rabat, Morocco for WAFCON. Certainly looking forward to that one.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises. From artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative Sport Tourism.
Let's get into our top stories. Global youth unemployment rose in 2025 as weaker economic growth, geopolitical tensions, and sluggish job creation made work harder to secure, the International Labour Organization said. Unemployment among 15 to 24-year-olds reached 12.4%, up from 12.3% in 2023, representing 67 million young people worldwide. The ILO said the increase reversed post-pandemic improvements and reflected worsening job quantity and quality. The share of youth not in employment, education or training also edged up to 20%, or more than 257 million people. Youth unemployment rose between 2023 and 2025 in 8 of 11 sub-regions, with the Arab states highest at 26.2%, followed by Northern Africa and North America, while Northern, Southern and Western Europe stood at 15%. The International Labour Organization highlighted shrinking middle-skilled clerical, administrative, sales and manufacturing jobs. It estimated 6.1% of jobs held by people aged 15 to 29 are highly exposed to AI-related changes. If 10% disappeared, around 5.6 million young workers could be affected, mainly in high-income countries. Now, South Africa's anti-migrant March on March movement has vowed to continue campaigning until every undocumented migrant leaves, despite economic disruption and damage to the country's continental standing. The movement set June 30 as its deadline, but working class African nationals were targeted regardless of status, and more than 160,000 people were helped home by their governments. March and March plans intensified action before November 4 local elections, while spokesperson Sandile Dube says every South African job should be occupied by a South African. Now, migrants number roughly 3 million, official under 4% of the population. Spaza shops, many owned by Somali or Ethiopian traders, are estimated at 150 to 200,000, generating nearly 3 million jobs, that is. Now, keeping in mind, it was also reported this week that South Africa's unemployment rate rose significantly. Moving on to our third story, we're talking about Ebola. A new study says the Ebola outbreak in Democratic Republic of Congo involves a previously unseen variant of the rare Bonnievale species indicating a fresh transmission from animals to humans rather than a link to earlier outbreaks. Researchers from Congo, Uganda, Belgium and other countries analyzed virus samples from 22 patients in Congo and Uganda. They found the outbreak strain was genetically distinct from Bonnievale Ebola viruses identified during outbreaks in 2007 and 2012. The findings, published in Nature Medicine, suggest the outbreak began with a new animal-to-human transmission event before spreading between people. Researchers did not identify the animal source, although Ebola viruses are known to spill over periodically from infected animals to humans. Today, Zambians go to the polls to choose a president, with the main choices being incumbent Hakainde Hichilema and opposition figure Brian Mundubile. Here on Africa Good Morning, to give us an update on the Zambia election is our correspondent in Lusaka, Mike Sichula.
Thank you very much for having me. Yes, indeed, it is the 13th of August 2026, and Zambians have lined up in various polling stations across the country. As our viewers may wish to know, Zambia has got a registered of 13,529 polling stations across 116 districts, representing 226 constituencies. So in all these polling stations, voting has started at 06 hours and it is expected to close at 18 hours Zambian time. And our viewers may also wish to know that for the presidential ballot, there are 13 presidential candidates who include incumbent President Hakainde Hichilema of the UPND and the opposition front-runner Brian Mundubile of the NRPUP party, which is a relatively new political party. So some of the highlights of this election is that Zambians, the 8.7 million voters, are going to elect members of parliament, local government councillors, mayors, as well as the big one, the presidential candidate. So yesterday, President Hakainde Hichilema spoke to the nation, and he assured the nation that what his administration has done in the last 5 years was laying the foundation for economic growth if he's given another mandate to govern this country. He also highlighted some of the progress and achievements that he has made, and he said all these achievements need to be given enough time so that Zambians can see more better things under his administration. On the other hand, opposition frontrunner Mr. Brian Mundubile also held an interview with the media where he told the nation that in his first 100 days in office, if he's given the mandate, he's going to promote reconciliation as the #1 priority in the first 100 days. Secondly, is going to address the high cost of living, which many Zambians have complained, and it was one of the pivotal discussions for many political players. Then thirdly, he's promised that his administration is going to look at repealing some of the cyber security crimes law, which according to him, he says has reduced Zambians from talking because they are fearing that they may be visited by state authorities. So these two front runners have promised. Now it remains to the Zambian people if any of the two front runners plus 11 other presidential candidates have convinced them enough that they can be given a mandate to to govern this country up to 2031. So these are some of the things that our viewers are expecting as I continue to bring more updates with the elections. So according to the Electoral Commission of Zambia, after counting of votes begins immediately after 18 hours when the last polling station is closed, counting will resume. But the Electoral Commission of Zambia is expected to have a clear view of what has happened by the 17th of August 2026. Thank you very much for having me, and stay tuned for more updates from Zambia.
Now it's time for Arrie Hougaard to join us with the South Africa report, starting with the South Africa unemployment rate rising to 33.6%.
In current news in South Africa, we first go to the unemployment rate in South Africa. Not good news in the second quarter in South Africa. Actually, South Africa's unemployment crisis has deepened. The reason for that is that the national jobless rate at the moment is up to 33.6%. That is in the end of the second quarter of 2026. So in the second quarter of 2026, 345,000 people, they joined the unemployment list. So that is not good for the South African economy. The total amount of people that's unemployed in South Africa at the moment is 8.5 million. And so the Democratic Alliance also had quite a strong opinion about that. And they say that the figures show that it is worsening, and the situation is worsening, and that the economic reforms are moving very slow. And the Democratic Alliance said that the reason for the slow moving of the reforms is that infrastructure in South Africa is still under pressure, and specifically with related to rail and also port infrastructure that affects the economy quite a bit. And crime is also a factor in South Africa at the moment, unfortunately, and it contains business and constrains business and also investors in South Africa. So that is a big challenge related to the unemployment. Also, it is Action SA, another political party in South Africa, had a strong worded press release, and they actually said that the minister should vacate his position. And they singled out the manufacturing industry in South Africa, where 100,000 jobs were lost in the second quarter. And so that is all to do with unemployment at the moment in South Africa. Staying with current news, we go to another part of the economy where there's actually people needed to fill positions, and that is in education. So the African schools, they have a growing pressure on the school system, and that is because there's 27,000 teaching posts that remain vacant at the moment. That is across all the public educations, all the public schools in South Africa. Basic Education Minister, that is Siviwe Kavarambe, confirmed that there's in Eastern Cape, there's a vacancy of 5,730 posts that is vacant at the moment. KwaZulu-Natal, 4,700. So the biggest challenge is in the Eastern Cape and followed by KwaZulu-Natal. Third biggest challenge is Gauteng with 3,994 positions open. And then the Western Cape with 3,562 positions that's open. Also, lots of pressure on teachers in South Africa, and that is because of the teacher and children or the teacher and scholar ratio. The average ratio at the moment is across all of South Africa is 34 scholars for one teacher. But many schools, there's many schools in specifically rural areas that have 70 children for one teacher. Then to conclude the current news in South Africa, we go to a bit more better news in South African economy, and that's related to farming, and that is the maize harvest in South Africa. So the good news is that there's expected to be an abundant volume and a very good crop this year for the 2025-2026 season that is related to maize harvest. So as of the end of July, farmers have already delivered 11.9 million tons of maize in South Africa. And that's a plus minus 68% of the expected record harvest of 17.4 million tons that's expected in South Africa. So South Africa consume about 12 million tons on its own in South Africa. So there's lots of export possibilities as well. Then also the soya bean and sunflower crops have been positive and good in South Africa. The volumes is the soya bean volumes for the year looks like it's going to be 2.75 million tons for South Africa, and then also 755,000 tons that is sunflower volumes. So it is good possibilities for the economy in the farming that will be good. So that is current news at the moment. In sport news in South Africa, we go to rugby first, and it's a much anticipated All Black rugby tour that's currently taking place in South Africa. It's called the Greatest Rivalry Rugby Tour. It will only happen every 4 years, so it is South Africa first. So in 4 years' time, the Springboks will tour the All Blacks. So it's only in 8 years' time again that the All Blacks will tour South Africa. So it's quite unique what's happening at the moment. So one unique game coming up this coming Saturday in Pretoria. That will be the third game of the series so far, and it is still the All Blacks playing against franchises, and it is the Bulls that will face the All Blacks in Loftus Versfeld. That will be 7 p.m. kickoff time, Namibian time on Saturday. Already the All Blacks played their first two games, won both of them. The first game was a victory of 38 points to 21. That was against the Stormers in Cape Town the past Friday. And then this past Tuesday, it was in Durban. It was the All Blacks that won comfortably by 54 points to 0. The first of 4 rugby tests will be on the 22nd of August. That will be at Ellis Park in Johannesburg. So that will be the first test between the Springboks and the All Blacks. Followed the next weekend, then the 29th of August. That will be the second test in Cape Town. And then followed on the 5th of September. The third test will be in Johannesburg again at Soccer City, close to Soweto. With the fourth test, that will be overseas in America, in Baltimore. And that will be on the 12th of September in the USA. Continuing the sport news in South Africa with soccer news. So this coming weekend, there's some Premiership, Betway Premiership games that's going to happen on Saturday and Sunday. And some of the big games on Saturday will be Kaizer Chiefs. They've got a big game against Mamelodi Sundowns. That is 3 p.m. home game for Kaizer Chiefs. Then 5:30 Saturday, it is Namibian time. It's Durban City. That will be at home against Richards Bay. And then on Sunday, Orlando Pirates, they away to Chippa United, 3 p.m. that kickoff time. And then lastly, also golf news related to South Africa. It is one of their players. It is Ulrich Potgieter, the only player that will play in the PGA FedEx first round series. That is the St. Jude Championship at the TPC Southwind. And it is some of the world's best players will be playing in this tournament, like the world number 1, Scotty Scheffler, world number 2, Rory McIlroy, some international players like Tommy Fleetwood and Ludwig Aberg, and also Ryan Fox of New Zealand that recently won the British Open. He will also play in the tournament. So that is the sport news related to South Africa. In entertainment news, we go to the lovely town of Bonnievale, and Bonnievale is in the Western Cape. It's about 185 kilometers from Cape Town, and for those that know the Western Cape will know it's about 64 kilometers from Worcester and very close to Robertson. Beautiful area of the Western Cape. There's lots of winelands there, big farming community and agriculture, and also right on the Breda River. So it's a beautiful town, Bonnievale, founded in 1922, and a great place to visit for tourists as well. So it is on the wine route that is called the Cape Wine Route, and so there's several wineries in that area. One of them to mention is the Bonnievale Wines, and they've got award-winning river collection, and they've got brilliant white wines with the Chardonnay, also Sauvignon Blanc and Chenin Blanc. Of course, there's great wine tasting also at the Bonnievale wines, and also taste some of the best red wines there as well. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon. There's also a Pinotage, Merlot, and Shiraz. And then they have a brilliant Muscadel, a red Muscadel, known for that area. So it's a limited release red Muscadel, and that is a dessert wine. Also, if you visit that area, great accommodation there. It's a Bonnievale River Lodge is one of the places to visit, right on the Breda River, very popular. They've got the stylish self-catering bed and breakfast accommodation. Lots to do there at the Bonnievale River Lodge. Fishing is one popular thing to do at part of the Breda River, on the Breda River. Then also 4x4 driving into the mountains with vehicles, and also hiking. Of course, when you stay there, there's other wine tasting as well. Besides the Bonnievale wines, you can also go to Arendtsig. That's a single vineyard, a brilliant winery. Then also Weltevrede Wine Estate and Goed Verdacht, and that is all in the Bonnievale area. But then also, if you stay there and you want to play some golf, you also have Bonnievale Golf Club. Just 9 holes, but a brilliant golf course, started in 1981 with beautiful views on the Langeberg and the Riviersonder and mountains. So that is just next to the golf course. So that is Bonnievale to visit in entertainment in South Africa.
We end with the best sports news on the planet right now, which is the WAFCON final being set and the amazing journey of Malawi to the final. So here are the highlights from Malawi and Algeria's clash from last night as we say goodbye on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, 1up2.com, Network Media Hub, and NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA. Swera Jaganaka.
Swiftly kicked up, it's Sabita Chawinga, she's on her own, can she get the shot in? Oh, it's just gone wide. Well, it was completely left by the Algerian defence, which gave her the chance to do something. This is whipped in right over the top there, and a chance for a header. There's the header, oh, look at that, it's a sensational goal. Absolute world class, it does not get better than that. Tabita Chawinga, the overhead, the acrobatics, the wow factor is just off the charts. It comes out to Gondwe, there's the through ball. Temwa tries to get past Chloe Ngazi, and there's your second goal. Fabulous play there from Malawi. And Temwa scores another goal. It's goal number 5 of this WAFCON. She joins Barbara Banda. Lofting that up into the penalty area. Anybody trying to get on the end of it. It's at the far post. There's a shot and a goal. Algeria have got the goal. Fantastic. And the finish was exceptional. Scored there by a Jabi Diong of Le Havre. Tabitha Chawinga accelerates to the penalty box. There's the shot. There's the goal. They've scored number 3. Malawi have taken the lead again. Well, pushed it forward to 3. An extension of what they had with 15 to go. A third goal and a second. There's the final whistle.